Hi, this is Jeannie from 4 Trimesters Birth Sanctuary. You can check us out on our IG account or Facebook. And what I'm going to walk you through is what you need to know about having a baby in Singapore and what options are actually available to you. So a lot of people, when they contact me, they have all these questions that they want to ask. And this video is to help you understand what your options are and perhaps even encourage you to ask other questions related to this. So when you're choosing to have a baby in Singapore, the first thing that you will need to do is to choose an obstetrician. Now, when it comes to choosing an obstetrician, the key thing is to understand the difference between philosophy of care and bedside manners. Most people, when they choose obstetricians, they would choose OBs based on bedside manners, how the doctor makes them feel, whether they're maternal, paternal, so on and so forth, okay? Not so much their philosophy of care. But as you discover more, you will find that majority of the obstetricians in Singapore are quite active management. So they like to actively manage the labor, which also explains for our high cesarean rate. So an average private doctor cesarean rate would actually range from 40 to 60%. Once in a while, you have a doctor with an 80 to 90% cesarean rate, and very rarely you'll have a doctor with a less than 20% cesarean rate. And their cesarean rate would be reflective of how they actually practice. So most doctors would like to actively manage the labors. So when you're choosing an obstetrician, you don't want to choose an obstetrician based on just bedside manners. Depending on the kind of birth that you are hoping to have, philosophy of care will make the difference between the options available to you when you're choosing an obstetrician. With the same regard, this will encourage you to choose a pediatrician. So a lot of people are not aware, I got to choose a doctor, then I got to choose a baby doctor. If you do not choose a baby doctor, upon the birth, your obstetrician will choose a pediatrician for you. And most of the time, whom they choose would be dependent on whom they are used to working with, not necessarily a pediatrician who supports what you are wanting. So when you're choosing a pediatrician, it is important to look for a breastfeeding friendly pediatrician as well as a mother-baby friendly pediatrician. If any interventions were to take place, it would usually take place immediately after the birth or in the first week of birth, where there's mother-baby separation. And unfortunately, be it obstetrics or pediatrics, the doctors don't necessarily practice evidence-based care. So it's important to find a doctor that keeps up with research and practices evidence-based care in order not to introduce formula unnecessarily. And doctors are not usually very well versed with breastfeeding either. So if you're planning to breastfeed successfully, it is important to have that team of obstetrician and pediatrician who will help you have a smooth delivery, which will also facilitate breastfeeding. After you've chosen your obstetrician and pediatrician, you want to think about where would you like to give birth. So when you're in Singapore, you can choose to give birth at hospitals. We have 10 maternity hospitals, or you can choose to have a home birth at your own home, or some people choose to birth at the birth sanctuary, which is having a home birth out of your own home. And after you have decided that, it doesn't necessarily go in sequence. It's not uncommon for people to change their mind halfway when they have decided, okay? But some of the things that would be helpful for you would also to attend antenatal classes. Shockingly, when they did research years ago, they found that less than 10% of women who give birth in hospitals, less than 10% of them actually attend antenatal classes, which is kind of reflective of the culture where people kind of go, oh no, the doctors and nurses should be very experienced. They should know what to do. I'm just going to go in and give birth. It shouldn't be so complicated because women have given birth forever, right? But Singapore is not a place where the system looks after you necessarily in the way you are wanting. And this is really important to understand, because if you don't know what your options are, nothing will be offered to you, which means to say when you go into the hospital, they'll ask you to lie on a bed and then you'll stay on the bed until you give birth. The midwives are not going to be proactive and say, hey, you shouldn't be lying on the bed, you should move around, etc. They do not do that here. So if you don't know what options are available to you, nothing will be offered to you. And this is why attending antenatal classes, especially private antenatal classes instead of hospital antenatal classes, makes the difference, because usually, not all the time, but usually private antenatal classes are there to empower you, to help you understand your options and help you work towards the birth outcome that you're wanting, whether you want a drug-free birth, whether you want pain relief, or whether you are choosing to have a cesarean. So find an antenatal class that's going to empower you to know what to do. Now, if you choose to attend antenatal classes with us, 50% of the information is for the mother and 50% is for the birth partner. So it's highly interactive. You're not just going to sit there and listen to me talk, etc. It's going to be highly, highly interactive. Okay. If you attend antenatal classes with us in person, then it'll be 6 classes. They're usually on a Saturday morning, 4 hours each, 9 to 1 or 2 to 6. In the first 2 classes, we show you what's possible. We help you understand your why, value alignment between you and your partner towards the kind of birth that you are wanting. So we show you what's possible to work with yourself mentally, emotionally, and physically. Again, 50% of the content is for the mother, the other 50% is for the birth partner. In classes 3 and 4, I take you back down to earth. And when I take you back down to earth, I teach you how to navigate the system in Singapore. You can do all you want, prepare all you want, but if you don't know how to navigate the system in Singapore, you are planning to not really have a satisfying birth experience in a place like Singapore, where the system does not necessarily look after you the way you are wanting. Your birth partner needs to navigate the system to be empowered to know what to do to protect you and to enable you to have a satisfying birth experience. So the first 4 classes is focused on pregnancy, labor, and birth, and class 5 and 6 is on surviving the first 6 weeks. First week is what we call hell week, lack of sleep, a new baby, your milk is coming in, you don't know whether you're feeding enough, so on and so forth. So we teach you everything you need to know just to get past the first few weeks. If the first week is as smooth as possible, then you'll find that second week is honeymoon week before you hit the third week, where you go through a growth spurt and baby will feed as if there is no tomorrow. We find from 2 decades of teaching antenatal classes, generally, if you can help people get through the first 6 weeks, it gets a lot easier after. So if you choose not to do antenatal classes in person, or for whatever reasons you cannot make the schedule or have missed a class, you can also choose online classes. So all the classes are actually pre-recorded, they have assessments, etc. And you can just choose to do the online classes or decide to upgrade for one-on-one session with me or my team. So these are options available to you. Now, certain things that you need to know in the current climate. As of 7 May 2021, all hospitals have now asked mothers and their birth partners to go through a mandatory admission, antigen rapid test, as well as PCR tests. Again, now, if you're choosing to have a doula at your birth, so why choose to have someone with you during labor? Let's look at what statistics say. Okay. So people who choose to engage doula services, 97.5% of them would end up having a vaginal birth. Again, our statistics change every year. This is as of January to August 2021, but the numbers are not too different. 35% of our clients would choose to have a home birth, and because water births are not available at hospitals in times of COVID, 15% of them actually have a water birth. The numbers would be higher if water births were allowed at hospitals. 73% of women who engage doula services have a drug-free birth. I will put it out there that not all our clients want a drug-free birth. What seems to be most important for women is to have a smooth birth and a vaginal birth, regardless with epidural or without epidural. 18% of our clients are mothers who plan to have a vaginal birth after cesarean, and 3% vaginal breech delivery. Those who plan to actually birth with us at the birth sanctuary, which is a home birth out of your own home experience, 100% of the women achieve a drug-free birth, regardless whether they successfully birth with us or they transferred to the hospital to help get labor progressing, usually they would have Pitocin, etc., to help the labor to progress, but 100% of them would not have pain relief. When we talk about transfer, for second time or more mothers, we have 0% transfer. So there's a 100% success rate of women birthing successfully with us without transferring. For first-time mothers, we have an 80% success rate of women birthing with us, so only 20% end up transferring. And very interestingly, the ratio of first-time mothers compared to second-time or more is 50-50. I'm actually quite impressed at that number, because you would think that it would be second-time or more mothers who would be more gung-ho. But often we find that as first-time mothers and their families get more and more educated about their options, understand how challenging it can be sometimes to have a hospital birth, and if the philosophies are not aligned, more and more women are looking for an option otherwise. So if you choose to have doula services, we have a few packages. If you are having a hospital birth, then it would be hospital birth doula package, which has 2 prenatals, birth support, and 3 postnatal visits. If you are having a home birth, whether at your own home or at the birth sanctuary, it will be 2 prenatals, birth support, and 2 postnatals. What is the difference between the package, and why is the home birth doula package more expensive? When you have a hospital birth, you have a team of 2 doulas, a primary doula and a backup doula in case the primary doula is not available or the birth is too long and she needs someone to help take over. So it's a team of 2 doulas, a primary and a backup doula. When you have a home birth, it's a team of 3 doulas. You will have 2 doulas at your birth. So primary doula and the secondary doula, as well as the backup doula. In case one is not available, another one is there to support the mother. Now for all doula packages, we also have a COVID-19 doula reimbursement fee of $200. This is because when people choose to have a hospital birth, the doulas have to go to A&E first to take an ART test before they actually go up to the delivery suite. And the hospitals require that the ART test be taken every 24 hours. So one test will cost $70. If the labor is more than 24 hours and she has been there with you more than 24 hours, then she's required to take 2 tests. So this is a reimbursement, and the doula will actually return you the difference depending on how many tests you do if you're planning or she does if you are planning a hospital birth. If you are planning a home birth, we still have this reimbursement in case of transfer to hospital. However, if there is no transfer and this is not needed, again, the doula will reimburse this amount to you. Now, we generally only take in clients, doula clients, if they have attended our antenatal classes. So for first-time mothers, we highly encourage that they attend our antenatal classes so that we're speaking the same language. If for whatever reasons they have attended antenatal classes elsewhere, then our requirements would be that they either take our online classes instead of our in-person classes, which is cheaper and at their own time, or they supplement it with optimal maternal positioning, what we call OMP for parents. This is to ensure that we speak the same language. One of the reasons why we have such a high success rate of helping women have the birth that they want is because of the pre-prep. So when you're planning for your birth, it's like signing up for a marathon. 70 to 80% of the work is done prenatally, and that 20% is on race day itself. It's the same thing for labor and birth. We call it the labor-thon. So this allows us, and this allows this to be part of your pregnancy routine or your training program. So if you're a first-time mother, if you have not attended antenatal classes, you can choose to attend antenatal classes with us in person, or you can choose to take our online program. If you have taken antenatal classes elsewhere, then you can either supplement it with taking our full antenatal program, depending on what it covered, the antenatal classes that you attended covered. If you went to a hospital antenatal class, I would definitely say you need to take the entire online program. If you took pretty well covered antenatal program, then I would say you would need to take the OMP for parents. If you are a second time or more mother and already had a drug-free birth, then we would still encourage you to take OMP for parents online. if you are second time or more mother and did not successfully have a drug-free birth. Depending on how birth was for you and depending on how postpartum was for you, we will either recommend that you take the full antenatal program, which already consists of OMP for parents, or simply take OMP for parents. Now, most clients, when they engage doula services, they will book a one-on-one call with me first. And this is where I will vet and come up with a plan for you, okay, like a personal shopper kind of thing. So depending on what your experiences were. And remember that the idea for us doing this is to optimize your chances of getting this birth the way you are wanting. That is our pure intent. So these are some options available to you. Some people would attend our antenatal classes, not engage doula services, but would like postpartum support after. This is also an option available to you. And of course, for those of you who are planning to birth with us, this is just a glimpse as to what to expect. So what's the difference in having a home birth versus birthing with us? If you're choosing to have a home birth at your own home, then you and your partner are responsible for the setup necessary for having a home birth, as well as needing to figure out what you need to do to support yourselves after the birth. If you choose to birth with us at the Birth Sanctuary, it's a home birth, but out of your own home. So I usually call it the Airbnb for giving birth. And what we do here is that the setup and everything that is needed for the home birth is already prepared for you. So you don't have to think about that, don't have to think about cleaning up, etc. But more importantly, after you have given birth, to support you and your partner and empower the both of you to know what to do with your newborn before you actually go home. Now, when you choose to have a home birth, it's not as if there's no medical care. You will still need an obstetrician as well as a pediatrician. The obstetrician will usually come during labor to do a baseline assessment and whenever is necessary, as well as be there during labor and birth itself. And the obstetrician will see you within 24 hours of giving birth to ensure that everything is okay. The pediatrician is not going to be on standby. However, the pediatrician will see you within 24 hours of giving birth. So basically, it's the doulas who's going to be running the show, reporting to the doctors, helping you with fetal heart tones, etc., and reporting everything to the doctors in charge. Now, the prerequisite for having a home birth is that your pregnancy is a low-risk pregnancy. And generally, when you make your intent clear to have a home birth, we will just keep planning for a home birth unless proven otherwise halfway through your pregnancy. So your final go-ahead for home birth will be at 36 weeks. The other prerequisite is that if you are a first-time mother, our prerequisite is that you attend our antenatal classes and engage our doula services. If you're a first-time mother and have already attended antenatal classes elsewhere, you can choose to take our online antenatal classes, a complete program, or you can just choose to supplement it with our Optimal Maternal Positioning, OMP for Parents, online series, because this will bridge the gap between what you have learned in other antenatal classes. And this is something that unfortunately is very essential yet not covered. This is to ensure that we're speaking the same language. Now, if you're a second-time mother or more, and you had a drug-free birth prior, then we do recommend that you take the OMP for Parents complete online video series. If you have not had a drug-free birth, then we give you an option whether you want to do the online antenatal program, the full program, depending on what your first experience was like, how much help you needed, were you struggling or cruising through early postpartum, etc. Now, if everything was quite doable and you just needed additional support, then we will require that you do take the OMP for Parents online series only. And again, this is to ensure that we're speaking the same language and to help you optimize the outcome of your labor and birth. Now, why do some people choose to birth with us? Most of the time is because of the care that they know that they're not able to get at the hospital. So during labor and birth itself, most women don't know what they want. All the hormones that you use for childbirth birth are the same hormones that you use for love making. So a change in positions, trying different things to see what will ease the discomfort is usually helpful. And we have all that facility set up for you, whether you choose to stand, sit, use a shower, use a gym ball, use a birth rope, hydrotherapy, which is to labor in water, or have a water birth. Will support any birth that you are wanting. And again, you can choose to have a land birth, or you can choose to have a water birth. Entirely up to you. We assume that every mother who's birthing with us is planning to have a water birth unless she chooses not to. Now, our philosophy of care basically is we're very big on protecting the mother's experience. So we are what we are known as mother-centric. Everything revolves around the mother and her birth partner. We truly believe that women deserve the birth they desire. Nobody gets pregnant and says, I want the most dramatic birth ever. But yet, when they're in a system like in Singapore, if they find that they want a water birth or they want a natural birth, there seems to be a lot of hoops that they need to go through. So this is a place where you don't have to worry about that because we're all aligned with you. We want you to have your best birth possible, and definitely promoting mother-baby bonding. And if for whatever reasons mother-baby bonding is not possible, then to promote birth partner-baby bonding. And we do things, all these things naturally. You don't have to tell it to us. We'll definitely do skin to skin. We're breastfeeding friendly, and we are mother-baby friendly. In our facility, we do not have a nursery. So when people are planning to birth with us and stay with us postpartum, they also need to be prepared to have their babies with them rooming in 24 hours. So all these are given and not things that you actually need to request for. Now, when it comes to birth registration, as this is a home birth, birth registration can be done at ICA. If you are Singaporean, there is an option to do it online to register the birth. And we will give you further instructions as to how to do that. Now, when you choose to have a home birth, and it's almost similar for hospital birth, there are several kinds of cost, okay? So there is the obstetric cost, there's the pediatric cost, that's what we call others, where people take antenatal classes, engage doula services, see a chiropractor, yoga, massage, whatever it is, and there's place of birth. Now, when you see an obstetrician, you incur three types of costs. You incur pregnancy costs, so all your prenatal visits. You incur delivery fees, and you incur postpartum fees. And globally, whether you have midwifery care or you have obstetric care, this is the same worldwide. And how your visits are actually planned, whether you see the doctor every 4 weeks, every 2 weeks, every week, twice a week, etc. All these are pretty much global standards. They're quite similar anywhere you go in the world. So with the obstetrician, there's only one obstetrician that supports home births. And if you don't have insurance, you can opt for an a la carte, you can opt for an antenatal package, which is a lot more economical and almost a 50% discount versus paying a la carte. If you have insurance coverage, unfortunately, insurance wants detailed breakdown. So taking on a package is usually not an option. Now, when you see the obstetrician, there's a choice to see the obstetrician for all the visits, or if you qualify and you are under low risk, you can opt for shared care. Shared care is where you see the obstetrician's wife, who is a general practitioner, and she will actually, there won't be ultrasounds during those visits. The ultrasounds are only with the obstetrician, so it will be a general checkup. So personal choices. Now, when it comes to delivery fees, HBCS is if you are planning to birth with us. HB is having a home birth at your own home. So when the doctor comes for delivery, that will be the delivery fees. Attendance fee is for any additional visit outside of delivery. So the doctor comes halfway during labor, or the doctor comes to see you the day after you have given birth. All this is considered attendance fee. And this is the same whether you choose to have a home birth or a hospital birth. So for example, if you choose to have a hospital birth and for whatever reasons you decide to stay 5 days postpartum at the hospital, then what you will find is that every day both your obstetrician and your pediatrician are required to visit you, and for every visit they will charge an attendance fee. If you choose to birth with us, the obstetrician will come usually at least one time during labor, if not more, and for delivery. And after delivery, he will come within 24 hours of the birth. So generally, when you're doing your budget, you're budgeting for at least 2 attendance fee. And then after, you have your postpartum visit at 1 week, and again at 6 weeks. Now for the pediatrician will come within 24 hours of your birth. In the same way as what hospitals would offer you, they would offer you metabolic testing, hearing tests, vaccinations, which would be Hep B and BCG, jaundice testing, as well as blood type. All these are optional and is usually done between day 2 to 5. So this will be done at the doctor's clinic or at the building that the doctor is at, depending on whom you choose to go to. There is only one pediatrician that we work with at the Birth Sanctuary. So if you choose to do any additional visits or tests, she will advise you when to actually see her postnatally. So she will only see the baby once within 24 hours of birth, and then thereafter you have to take the baby to the clinic. If you are choosing to have a home birth at your own home, then you have to take the baby to the clinic within 24 hours of the birth. She will not do a home visit. Now, then when it comes to doula services, you have 2 options. Again, we don't work with clients who do not take our antenatal classes if they are a first-time mother. So if they have taken antenatal classes elsewhere, as mentioned prior, you can do the top up by taking our online classes, or you can choose to take our antenatal classes. And there is a home birth doula package, which consists of 2 prenatals, birth support, and 2 postnatal visits. In addition to that, in case of transfer to the hospital, we take a $200 deposit. If there's a transfer to the hospital, the doulas are required to go to A&E to take an antigen rapid test prior to going up to the delivery suite. If this is not necessary and there is no transfer, the doula will refund this amount to you. Now, when it comes to the place of birth, it can be a little bit confusing because of what we call it. We call it continuous birth doula package, which is for birthing with us, not doula services, or continuous birth and postpartum doula package. So what is the difference for that? Continuous birth doula package is like birth centers globally, where women only go to the place of birth to give birth, and they usually discharge within 6 hours of birth and they go home. Continuous birth and postpartum doula package is for people who choose to birth with us and stay with us postpartum. So the number of people who actually would just choose to birth with us and go home is very rare. This is a very Western theme, not very Asian that way. We have very few people taking on this package, but this is an option, or this is also for people who birth with us and choose to transfer halfway for whatever reasons, then they'll be charged this package. Most people would fall under continuous birth and postpartum package. It's a minimum of 2 nights. There's 2 check-in and check-out time. Check-in at 6 p.m., check-out at 2 p.m., 2 nights later, minimum stay, or check in at 2 p.m. and check out at 10 a.m., minimum 2 nights. Maximum stay would be 6 nights, including labor and birth. So like a hospital, the moment you go in, discharge will start. As a first-time parent, I would encourage you to budget for 4 to 5 nights, including labor itself. As a second-time parent, anything from 2 nights to 4 nights. Now, you may put a booking in for 4 nights, but if you're doing very well and you can go home by 3 nights, we'll encourage you to go home by 3 nights. You might book for 4 nights, and after 4 nights, you're still struggling with a newborn baby, then we'll encourage you to extend your stay by at least another night, if not 2. Usually 1 day would make a big difference. So what we encourage, or how things actually turns out, would be dependent on how labor and birth goes for you and how you cope with postpartum. Now we have 2 delivery rooms. The delivery room is the same as your postpartum room because we are mother-centric. So we don't actually transfer you elsewhere. So both Gaia and Rhea are the same size. The difference is that Rhea has a partition, and because of the partition, it looks a little bit smaller. So this is Gaia, and this is what it looks like postpartum. During the birth itself, if women opt to have an inflatable tub, then you will see that Gaia is set up as a birthing room, and all rooms have ensuite bathrooms that have both a shower and a tub. So it's a personal option whether you want to birth in the built-in shower and tub, or you prefer an inflatable tub. The difference, of course, is the size. If you birth in a built-in tub, it can only fit one person. But if you want to have the option of your partner being in the tub with you, then you would need an inflatable tub. And there is an additional cost of $300 for that, which includes a tub liner. Then we have RIA, and all the setup is the same. Every room has a dining area, has a breastfeeding area, has a master bed together with a co-sleeping option, or what we call a sidecar arrangement. Once in a while, we will have a situation where both rooms are full. Then our birth lounge will be converted into a birthing room, which has happened before. But our usual average clientele flow is about 2 to 4 clients a month. So when we get more than that, we will usually pre-warn you that birthing in the birth lounge might be a temporary option. Now, when you choose to birth with us, we would send you a contract for doula services as well as for birthing with us. So some of the questions people will ask is what is included in the package when they choose to birth with us. All your meals are included. They're basically 3 main meals: breakfast, lunch, and dinner, together with snacks, night snack and afternoon snack. And you have the option of food requests, whether you want confinement, fusion, Western, gluten-free, keto, so on and so forth. In the package itself, what you will see is that you will have what we call the labor and birth package, incontinence sheets, etc., that's needed during the birth. After you have given birth, maternity pads, perineal spray, and diapers, and things that's needed for the baby. And this is usually all that you are needing. Now, during your prenatals, we would also tell you how to pack and what to pack in order not to incur other costs. So unlike a hospital, whether you do a la carte or package, right, especially if you do a package, people think that this is all they're paying for. It doesn't usually work out that way. They will have things that they include in the package, and then they'll have all these like miscellaneous items. We don't do that over here. What you see is what you get, okay? So if people do incur additional costs, what kind of additional costs do they incur? Rental of an inflatable tub, that's $300. If they choose to use, for whatever reasons, we need to use the oxygen tank for baby or for mother, then we'll charge them the oxygen tank. And if they choose to have gas and air. Apart from that, if they pack well, which we will go through with them, then they will find that it's almost like a flat fee. You don't end up incurring any additional charge. So this is something where we don't try to upsell and make money from these kind of things, okay? Our focus really is on empowering women and their families to have a good birth experience and to support them through the transition so that by the time they go home, they feel empowered to know what to do. Now, once again, if this is an option that you are interested in, definitely first you have to make an appointment with the doctor that supports home births, of which you can come to me and I'll give you your contact. And once you have seen the doctor, make an appointment with me if you have any other questions that you would like to ask. Apart from that, all I will say is for people who choose to birth with us, it is going to be a phenomenal experience if our values are aligned, as in this is what you've always wanted, and how we work with women is gels with the way you and your partner think. So feel free to drop me a message if you have any other questions. Otherwise, I look forward to connecting with you. Thank you.